What sex was like in feudal Japan. Representations of feudal Japan are replete in historical works and art, as well as in contemporary fiction and cinema. This historical period is associated with fierce samurai, elegant courtesans, and an ever-present sense of formality in dress and culture. Sex in feudal Japan was often idealized too, but sexuality was a lot less elegant and formal than many realize. This list will explore these harsh realities and describe what intercourse was like in feudal Japan. Make sure you subscribe to the channel before you start the video. This is Learning the World. Let's go! Samurai often got with 12-year-old boys during official apprenticeships. Aristocratic men could have multiple wives and concubines, while their female counterparts were stuck with one husband. In feudal Japan, intimate life was influenced by social standing. Essentially, one's partner was almost always of a similar social background. Lower-class teens in feudal Japan were free to get with whomever they wanted, but upper-class youths had to follow strict rules about whom they could see and marry. Monks committed acts of pederasty with students. Buddhist monks often openly indulged in age-unbalanced nanshoku, or pederast relationships in which they slept with their young male acolytes, who were adolescent. Monks also carried on open relationships with women. This print from the 19th century documents the practice of pederasty in medieval monasteries. Homosexuality was fairly common. Feudal Japan had few taboos about homosexuality or bisexuality. In fact, intercourse between men was sometimes idealized and celebrated, and relations with women was considered spiritually draining for men. In Buddhist temples, homosexual relationships were rampant, and usually carried on between seasoned monks and acolytes they mentored. Homosexuality took place openly in the military, as well, and male sex workers saw both male and female clients. Sex was an important part of Japan's first creation myth. Shinto, Japan's indigenous religion, has been around in various forms for thousands of years, and its recorded history began in 712 CE. According to the Shinto creation story, sex precedes the birth of a nation and its people. In this myth, one ancient being said to another, "My body, formed though it be formed, has one place which is formed to excess. Therefore, I would like to take that place in my body which is formed to excess and insert it into that place in your body which is formed insufficiently, and thus give birth to the land." How would this be? Sexual pleasure was tantamount to spiritual enlightenment. Tachikawa-ryu was a branch of Shingon Buddhism known as the main sex cult of Japan. Apparently there were enough cults of this kind to require the designation main. According to the sect's beliefs, making love was a gateway to spiritual enlightenment because intercourse allowed for the loss of self. For Tachikawa-ryu Buddhists, doing the deed was an important part of spiritual and religious life. For them, it was more than just an ideal or symbol, it was viewed as good in itself apart from its role in procreation. The Tachikawa-ryu Creed also stated the loss of self in the act could lead to an awakening of the spirit. Sex workers were ranked. Feudal Japan valued hierarchies and social ranking. This was true for people who put out for money, as well. Some brothels were specifically for the upper class, but even in high-end establishments, there was a distinction between simple night workers and elegant courtesans. Middle-class workers were called yujo, while high-status ones were known as oiran, which is short for oira no tokoro no neisan, the older sisters of our place. They were also called play women. The oiran were well-trained entertainers, and they had a surprisingly high social status. Potential clients used formal language with these courtesans and, in turn, these women would wear elaborate costumes. Life was rough for high-end courtesans. Expensive courtesans called oiran learned how to dance, sing, paint, write haiku, write in calligraphy, and how to perform a proper tea ceremony. To the men who visited them, they perceived these women as polite, relaxed, and happy. The women's behavior was just their act, and many of these lucky girls were coerced into sleeping with people for money. They were often indebted to their madams after being forced to pay for expensive clothing and makeup. They worked long hours, had poor living conditions, and their training was grueling. These formal courtesans were eventually replaced by the less expensive geishas. The notion and fate of a prostitute living in debt servitude to madams and yakuza so permeated Japanese society that it became a narrative trope in period films and fiction. Many Zatoichi movie used this cultural plot point, and you're bound to find at least one such character, whom a hero is attempting to rescue from her fate. Wives were monogamous, husbands were not. Significant double standards regarding marriage existed in feudal Japan. In the Heian period, court marriages were arranged between the father of the bride-to-be and the prospective husband. These marriages were also frequently polygamous. Officially, men could have multiple wives, concubines, and love affairs. On the other hand, women could only have one official husband at a time. With that being said, it was not uncommon for these elite women to carry on their own affairs, and doing so did not often come along with much social stigma. That's all for today. If you liked the video, please like it and do not forget to subscribe. Bye everyone.